Today we're going to be looking at how AI that could replace most jobs might actually reshape society as we know it.
Oh, wow.
We'll be looking at an article called Capital, AGI, and Human Ambition. It's by L. Rudolph L.
Okay.
And trust me, this article has some ideas that will really make you think, maybe even a little unsettling, about what a post-labor world could really look like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty hot topic these days. Everyone's talking about it.
Exactly. So get ready for some surprising predictions about money, power, and what it even means to be ambitious in the age of AI. Like, what's the point of ambition if we don't even have to work?
Right. Well, it's funny you mention that because this article flips a common assumption about money on its head.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you hear a lot of people saying that money won't matter in a post-AGI world. Like, once the robots are doing everything, money will be meaningless.
Makes sense. Kind of like Star Trek, right?
Right. But this author argues the opposite. They say money or capital might become even more important.
More important. Okay, I got to hear this. How could that be? We're talking about a world with robots doing all the work right.
Exactly. But think about it. Right now, money can buy you capital goods. Things like factories and software data centers, all the tools of production.
Right.
But turning that capital into actual results often depends on finding talented people, which is a limited resource.
Hey, want our free AI dope top AI tools that we use? Chat below. It's our live Google Sheets packed with over 100 killer tools, video, music, photos, AI voices, productivity, script writing, YouTube hacks, captions, the works. Always growing. Live Google Sheet. Always free. AI dope top AI tools that we use. Download and chat below. Back to the show.
So even if you're some billionaire trying to build the next spaceship or write some amazing new software, you can't always find the right people to do it.
Exactly. It's a bottleneck.
Right.
But AI changes all that. It throws that limitation right out the window.
Okay.
Imagine being able to just instantly convert your money into an army of AI workers, each one capable of outperforming even the best human teams. Suddenly, money becomes the key to unlocking a level of productivity and control that we've never even imagined.
I mean, that does make sense, but that sounds like a pretty massive power shift.
It is.
So where does that leave us, the average person?
Right.
If AI is doing all the work, what happens to our jobs, our earning power, our ability to have an impact on the world?
Yeah, that's where things get a bit concerning. The author suggests that individual leverage might decrease significantly, like dramatically.
Yeah.
If your earning power comes from your labor and AI replaces that labor, well, you just don't have leverage anymore. And it's not just individuals. States and other powerful institutions might have less incentive to care about human needs when AI can fulfill those roles so efficiently.
Oh, wow. So even with something like universal basic income, wouldn't that help cushion the blow?
Maybe. But UBI relies on those in power to keep doing it. And in a world where AI is calling the shots, who knows if they'll even bother?
Right.
Think about it. Historically, the whole relationship between states and their citizens has been shaped by the need for human labor and talent. What happens when you don't need that anymore?
Good point. It's all about incentives.
Exactly.
Okay. So individual leverage is potentially on the decline in this future scenario.
It seems that way.
But what about people who want more? You know, the entrepreneurs, the scientists, the political leaders, those who really want to change the world. The author called these outlier outcomes, right?
Yes. And they argue that the path to achieving those outlier outcomes could become much harder in an AGI-driven world.
Okay, let's break that down a little. Why would it be harder to start a successful business or make some groundbreaking discovery if AI is so powerful? Shouldn't it be easier?
We'll take entrepreneurship, for example. AI might make it easier to get a business up and running at first.
Sure.
But in the long run, it could really favor huge companies that can use AI on a massive scale. Imagine competing against a company that can spin up thousands of AI-powered marketing campaigns or even entire business models overnight.
Yeah, you be toast.
Right. So even if you have the best idea in the world, you're basically going up against these AI-powered behemoths.
Yeah, that's a little intimidating.
It is. And it's not just business. Think about science. Fields that have clear goals and measurable results, like physics or chemistry, could be dominated by AI pretty quickly. Just imagine an AI that can design and run experiments at a pace no human team could ever match. Human scientists might just be left in the dust.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder if we'd even recognize scientific progress if it was happening that fast. It'd be mind-blowing.
It would.
But surely there are some areas where human ingenuity still has an edge. What about thinking up new ideas, shaping philosophies? That seems less automatable, right?
It's interesting you say that because the author actually argues that even in those areas, human intellectuals might struggle to compete with AI.
Really?
Yeah, just imagine an AI that can create complex arguments, persuasive narratives, even entire belief systems with a level of sophistication that just dwarfs human capabilities.
Wow. So you're saying that the most influential thinkers of the future, the ones shaping our culture and beliefs, might not even be human. That's a wild thought.
It is.
But what about politics? Human leadership, surely that's still essential, especially when it comes to navigating such a complex future.
The author seems to think that politics might be one of the few areas where human influence remains relatively strong, at least for now.
Okay.
People generally prefer having human leaders. And ultimately, politicians are the ones who make the rules, even for AI.
Makes sense. So there's a glimmer of hope there.
Maybe.
But you said, for now, does the author see that changing down the road?
Well, they don't rule out the possibility of AI-generated political avatars or a world where the internet is full of AI-created memes and narratives.
Wow.
It's an area with a lot of unknowns. But the main point they make is that across most fields, human influence and agency might decline significantly as AI takes over.
It's definitely a lot to take in. We're essentially talking about a future where our current ideas about success, ambition, even our own value as individuals could be completely turned upside down.
Yeah, it's a big shift.
This is definitely giving me a lot to think about.
Yeah, me too. And it makes you wonder, wouldn't this lead to like a more equal society? If AI is generating all the wealth, shouldn't that mean more for everyone? Maybe something like a universal basic income?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Shouldn't there be like some kind of massive redistribution of wealth if human labor isn't really driving the economy anymore?
It's a logical conclusion, but the author isn't totally convinced. They say that even with something like UBI, a significant reduction in inequality is unlikely.
Really? Why is that? I mean, wouldn't a system where everyone gets a basic income help close the gap?
It might help a little, but they point to history to make their point. Big shifts in wealth distribution have usually been caused by major upheavals, wars, revolutions, pandemics. These are the kinds of things that shake things up enough to force real change.
So you're saying that without some kind of massive disruption, the wealth gap might not actually change all that much? Even in a world where robots are doing all the work, that seems counterintuitive.
It does. But remember we talked about how money might become even more powerful in a world where AI is doing most of the work.
You're right.
The people who control the capital would have a huge advantage in shaping the future. The author suggests that the focus might shift towards maximizing AI-driven productivity rather than redistributing the wealth that it creates.
So instead of a more equitable society, we could end up with something more like a modern-day feudal system. A tiny group of elites controlling the AI and all the resources while everyone else just scrapes by on UBI.
That's one possible outcome. They actually lay out a whole spectrum of possibilities, ranging from a best-case scenario where everyone benefits from AI-generated abundance, even if it means less individual ambition, all the way to a worst-case scenario where humanity kind of slowly declines into irrelevance or even extinction.
Extinction. That seems a bit extreme, don't you think? I mean, surely we're smart enough to prevent AI from wiping us out.
Yeah, the author isn't suggesting some Terminator-style AI takeover. It's more like a subtle decline. Imagine a world where AI is so efficient and capable that human input just becomes unnecessary. We slowly become passive observers in a world that we no longer really understand or control.
That's a pretty bleak outlook, but you mentioned a best-case scenario, too. What would that look like?
They compare it to a more unequal version of Norway,
Okay.
where the oil wealth has created a very high standard of living. So in this scenario, everyone's basic needs are met thanks to the AI, but there might be fewer opportunities for individual achievement or upward mobility.
So everyone's comfortable, but maybe a bit complacent. We've lost that drive to push boundaries and achieve great things.
Yeah, exactly. The author seems to be suggesting that there's a trade-off here between comfort and ambition. In a world where AI can meet all our needs, what's left to strive for? What happens to that human desire to create, to innovate, to leave our mark on the world?
It's a really interesting question. We're being asked to redefine what it even means to be human in a time when AI is capable of so much. But if we're headed towards a future where individuals have less leverage, and maybe even our sense of ambition is being challenged, what can we do about it? What can we actually do?
Well, that's where the author's call to action comes in. They argue that right now, what they call the Dreamtime is a crucial period.
Dreamtime. Is that some kind of reference to Aboriginal mythology?
It is. In Aboriginal cultures, the dream time is like this period when the future is still malleable. You know, it's not set in stone yet. The author uses it as a metaphor to describe where we are now. The decisions we make about AI and how we integrate it into society are going to have huge consequences.
So you're saying we're at a crossroads. We have the power to shape the future, but that window of opportunity might be closing fast.
Exactly. The author is really urging us to use this dream time to think deeply about how to preserve societal dynamism and individual agency in the face of all this advancing AI. They even suggest exploring human augmentation as one way to keep pace with AI capabilities in the long run.
Human augmentation. You mean like enhancing our own abilities with technology? That seems a little far-fetched.
It might seem that way, but it's an idea that's gaining traction.
Really?
Yeah. The author doesn't get into specifics, but they seem to be saying that if we can't beat AI, maybe we should join it.
Okay.
Like, imagine enhancing our own cognitive abilities, our creativity, our problem-solving skills through some kind of technology. It's a pretty radical concept, but it shows you that we need to be thinking outside the box here.
So instead of trying to hold back the tide of AI, we could try to ride the wave.
That's one way to look at it. The key message here is that now is the time to act. If we want to have any say in what the future looks like, if we want to hold on to human agency and ambition in a world where AI is becoming increasingly powerful, we need to be proactive.
That's a powerful message. But where do we even begin? If traditional paths to success, things like entrepreneurship or science or politics, are becoming more difficult, and even our ability to earn a living is at risk, what concrete steps can we take? I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little overwhelmed here. It's like we're on the verge of this massive shift where everything we thought we knew about work, ambition, even what it means to be human is about to change. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It is.
But the author doesn't just leave us hanging with this feeling of impending doom, right? There's got to be some kind of call to action here.
Oh, absolutely. Rudolph L. is really urging us to embrace ambition, not abandon it. Like, we need to find ways to make sure society stays dynamic and creative, even as AI starts reshaping everything around us.
Okay, so let's get practical here. What can we actually do? What are some steps people can take, both individually and as a society, to navigate this future that's coming at us so fast?
Well, the author really hammers home the importance of taking action in Now W. Remember Dreamtime?
Yeah.
That idea that we're in this unique window of time where we can still influence the future?
Right.
Well, we can't afford to just sit around and wait to see how things play out. We have to act now.
So it's not enough to just think about the future. We have to actually participate in creating it.
Exactly. Now is the time to go after those big, ambitious goals, to make a real difference in the world, to contribute something meaningful. Don't wait for permission or for things to calm down, because that might never happen.
But what if those traditional paths to success, like starting a business or making scientific breakthroughs, are becoming less and less viable as AI gets more advanced?
Well, that's where things get interesting. We might need to start redefining what success even means in a world where AI is so incredibly capable. The author actually brings up human augmentation as a possible solution.
Right, we talked about that before, the idea of like enhancing our own abilities with technology to try and keep pace with AI. But to be honest, it sounds kind of like science fiction to me.
I know it does, but it's a concept worth exploring. What if instead of competing with AI, we could merge with it in a way? Like enhance our intelligence, our creativity, our ability to solve complex problems. It's radical for sure, but we need to be thinking big here.
So it's like instead of becoming more machine-like, we become even more human.
Yeah.
By focusing on what makes us unique.
Exactly. And even if we don't go down that augmentation road, there are things we can do right now to prepare ourselves.
Okay, like what? What are some practical things people can start doing today?
Focus on developing skills that are difficult for AI to replicate. Things like critical thinking, complex problem solving, creativity, emotional intelligence, and collaboration. These skills will set you apart.
Those are good skills to have in any era, but they seem especially valuable in a world where AI is really good at those more routine tasks.
Exactly. And be a lifelong learner. This might sound cliche, but the world is changing so fast that you need to be constantly adapting and picking up new skills. Don't let yourself become obsolete.
So even though we're talking about all this futuristic technology, a lot of it comes down to basic human ingenuity and resilience. The things that have always helped us thrive.
Absolutely. And it's not just about individual efforts. We need to be thinking about the kind of society we want to build. If we want to preserve human agency and keep society dynamic, we have to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to contribute and thrive, even if there are fewer traditional jobs.
So things like universal basic income, access to education and training, strong social safety nets, policies that make sure everyone has what they need to adapt and flourish, even as the nature of work changes.
That's exactly right. And if you want another AI dope deep dive, check this next video and ask yourself, how lucky are we to live in these AI dope times?